Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I'm your president, Wilda Ream, and as you know, we start off our meetings by reciting the four-way test. Please join me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Today, our opening song, The Star-Spangled Banner, and the pledge will be led by Cal Weary, followed by the invocation by past District Governor Dick Brown and visitor introductions by our own Lynn Morrison.
Rotarians, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us turn to the source of spiritual strength that is within each of us and pray. We thank you for the bountiful blessings of food, shelter, and opportunities to serve through Rotary. May those of us who have share with those who have not. May those of us who can do for those who cannot. May those of us who are loved love those who are not. May we all live our lives so that the world is better off for having had us walk on Mother Earth. And as we reflect on the historical significance of Route 30, let us also recommit to be a welcoming community to all who visit or pass through. Amen.
Hi. I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing our guest for today. When I call your name, please stand at the place you're at, and please stay standing until President Wilda welcomes you. We have a visiting Rotarian from Nigeria. I believe she was here last week too. We're going to have to get her to join our club. Yvonne Iwo Brown. Next, we have Tim Bupp, a guest of Frank Countess. Thomas Burns, guest of past President Glenn Miller. Paul Schwartzer, guest of membership. Sterling Dunlap, guest of membership. Nancy Wolgemuth, guest of the Rotary Foundation Committee, and Jan Wolgemuth. Then the next people are guests of youth leadership. Zulady Figueroa, Megan Holtzinger, Scott Simons, Thomas Snyder, and Elaine Madden. And finally, we have Albert Glykoff, guest of Elliot Weinstein. Guests, we're so glad to have you here with us today. Whether this is your first visit or you're back again, or you're about to become a new member, it's always a pleasure to have new faces in the room. So if what you see here today resonates with you, we'd love to have you consider becoming part of our Rotary family. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. You may be seated. Before we get into our announcements today, I wanted to provide a brief update on our youth exchange program. Earlier this week, inbound youth exchange student Nathan Moons was sent home for not following youth exchange program guidelines. While these circumstances are never easy, the matter has been addressed in accordance with program expectations. I want to recognize and thank Carrie Ebeling, Albert Blakey, Jim Anderson, Ashley Etzweiler, and John Yates for their time, care, and leadership throughout this. We are grateful for their thoughtful and steady efforts throughout this situation. I know this can be difficult to hear, especially given how much we value our students and this program. We appreciate your understanding and your support of the Youth Exchange Committee. Again, not an easy decision, but there are guidelines, and they did a fabulous job in dealing with this situation. And as we come to the end of Women's History Month, it's worth reflecting on both the progress that women have made in business and the impact they've had in Rotary. Women were first welcomed into Rotary in 1987, and since then, their contributions have grown tremendously. Today, women make up around 22 to 25% of Rotary members worldwide, and they continue to serve as club leaders, district governors, and trustees, shaping the organization and our communities. I'm proud to be the 8th female president of our club, following in the footsteps of women like Jody Keller, who was our first female president in 1998-99, Michelle Baker, Marcia Bornt-Davis, Di Hershey, Ann Druck, Jackie Summers, and the always fabulous Corny Piccolo. Locally, women drive business and economic growth in York County, representing 60% of the workforce and managing over 1,200 businesses. Research shows that teams with at least one female founder perform 63% better than all male teams. Women are not just participating, they are redefining success, leadership, and efficiency. This data honors women in business, the trailblazers sitting in this room, and those forging new paths. I extend a heartfelt congratulations to all the women in Rotary for your incredible work, leadership, and dedication to service. You are making a difference every day. And thank you to Rotarian Carrie Ebeling, who shared this photo of 22 Rotarians in the wild attending this month's Penmar Gala. And if you aren't on our members-only Facebook group, you are missing a lot more Rotarians in the Wild photos, which is becoming a thing everywhere I go. Someone's like, we should take a picture of Rotarians in the Wild. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? These are Rotarians in the Wild. The York Rotary Foundation Board of Directors will meet at 4 o'clock on Zoom tomorrow. And the Service Project Development Committee, or the SPEEDY Committee, will meet on March 31st at noon at Prince Street Cafe. And as you know, As you know, to celebrate our 110th club anniversary, we will be holding a York Rotary's Got Talent anniversary showcase for our meeting on April 15th, which will be held at York College. We will also be hitting the road for our April 8th meeting when we visit Wellspan Park for an update on everything happening this season with the York Revolution. The link to register for both of these meetings will be in tomorrow's announcer, or you can use the QR codes on your tables. As a reminder, you can also find links to register in the announcer and on our website in Club Runner for some upcoming volunteer opportunities. On April 11th, volunteers are needed to help PPE, the Preserve Planet Earth Committee, with the municipal tree planting project. And on April 22nd, the Youth Leadership Committee is seeking volunteers to help teens in the Advantage program with a speed networking program here before Rotary. This will help them polish their professional introductions, build confidence in conversation, and connect with positive role models in our community. So please take a moment to register for these volunteer opportunities and for those 2 offsite meetings if you're able to attend and help with those. And now Brian Grimm, Chair of the Youth Literacy Committee, has a wrap up for Rotary Reads 2.0.
Thank you, President Wilda. Good afternoon, everyone. Our mission is simple. We are here to raise awareness and promote literacy through programs and activities that benefit the children in York City. And once again, our Rotarians have delivered. On March 18th, we brought Rotary Reads 2 to life across York City elementary schools, and it was an absolutely wonderful day. We had close to 40 volunteers show up, 45 classrooms across first grades, both in the school district of the city of York and York Academy Regional Charter School, and we connected with over 500 students. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And fun was had by all. You could hear in the rooms reactions from students range from ew to ah to French fries. For those of you who don't know, French fries come from potatoes, not France. So something you might have learned today. Anyway, it's the exact kind of well-rounded education we were going for. It was an incredibly rewarding experience and a powerful reminder of why we do this work. Each classroom received a Dr. Seuss Cows Can Moo, Can You book. We provided an activity, which was more of a matching game between animals and food, vegetables and food. And then they had some stuff that they could take home. And let me tell you, there was plenty of mooing as well. That was another one that was a crowd favorite, we'll call it. One thing I learned, that post-1993, soybean is a major ingredient in making crayons. Did you guys know that? Yeah. Well, I was eating the ones that were full of wax and chemicals. So I'm glad it worked out and we evolved a little bit. So anyway, this was a partnership with our friends at the York County Agricultural Society and our to celebrate Ag Literacy Week, which continues to be a special time in York County. We remain a leader in the state for reading and distributing books during this week, and our club played a big part in that success. I wanted to take a moment to thank a few people, fellow Rotarians, Pat Ball, for bringing this to our attention. I know Pat's out there somewhere. Hey, Pat, thank you for your help there. Dr. Maurice Jones with the School District of the City of York, Dr. Lowe with York Academy, all fellow Rotarians, my committee members for showing up and showing out, as the kids say, and most importantly, to all the Rotarians who showed up. It was just an outstanding day, and this doesn't happen without our participation as a club. The event was everything we hoped for. It was fun, it was impactful, it was deeply rewarding. And one thing is clear, when we show up in these classrooms, we're not just reading books, we're creating moments, we're building connections, and we're making lasting impressions in these children's lives. Just absolutely fantastic, and thanks for being a part of it. One final takeaway, it turns out cows aren't the only ones who can moo. Rotarians can too.
Thank you, Brian. I think my favorite, well, I had a lot of questions in my classroom, but I think my favorite one was one that I was probably anticipating, which is, where does chocolate milk come from? So I got to explain and then strawberry milk. So we got into the syrup and all that other fun stuff. Anyway, so thank you, Brian, and thank you to your committee. Hopefully we'll have more opportunities like this in the future. And now we have Bill Hartman, who will be presenting some things on behalf of the Global Rotary Foundation.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Good afternoon. Yeah, we're all here. You know, it's funny, I walked in today and two past presidents said to me, something very important must be happening because that's the only time you wear a necktie. And indeed, something very important is happening today. It's my great pleasure to have the opportunity to recognize some of our most significant and important donors to the Global Rotary Foundation. And later, I'll be making an announcement about a very outstanding Rotarian who has just reached major donor status. So the first slide there just simply says what we already all know, and that is the Global Rotary Foundation improves the world, it improves Central Pennsylvania, and it improves York. So we can go to the next slide now. And here are the 14 most significant donors to the Global Rotary Foundation. And we're delighted that our own Jane Davis is the Arch Clump Trustees Circle member. She's the only one in our club who's in the Arch Clump Society, and she's the only one in our district. So she's a great philanthropic leader, and the donation required to be in the Arch Clump Trustees Circle is in the six-figure range. So Jane has been very generous. In addition, there we have 13 major donors. These major donors are individuals who have given a cumulative total of $10,000 or more very generously to the Global Rotary Foundation. And we're also fortunate to have 3 members who have made bequests to the Global Rotary Foundation. So if you are a major donor, an Arch Clump Society member, or a Bequest Society member, would you please stand up for some well-deserved recognition? Thank you. We're very grateful to you. The next slide is our Paul Harris Society members. The Paul Harris Society is so important because it fuels the Global Rotary Foundation more significantly than any other group of donors. These are donors, these 21 generous individuals are donors who have agreed to give $1,000 per year to the Global Rotary Foundation. And as you can see, some of them are already major donors, and others of them, by virtue of their commitment to give $1,000 a year until they decide otherwise, that will lead them to becoming major donors as well. And of course, you can tell the major donors by their wearing of the well sought after and prestigious blue chevron below their pin. So could I ask all of the Rotary Club of York Paul Harris Society members to stand and be recognized? Our important announcement today and our important recognition is to really one of our true outstanding Rotarians. This gentleman is a star Rotarian by any measure you would choose. Jan Wogelmuth has been a member of our club for 30 years. And he ranks number 1. Isn't it great? It's great to rank number 1 at something. And he has a very distinction in his ranking. Jan has the number 1 rank as the Rotarian with the longest consecutive record of perfect attendance. I think that in and of itself deserves recognition. He's been terrific. He's been a great supporter of the Global Rotary Foundation, and we're so delighted that his wife Nancy is here with us today so she can participate in his glory. And congratulations, Jan. Would you come up, please? And our president, Wilda, will make the presentation formally. Let's give him a hand. Yes. Thank you so much, Jan, for everything you've done for our club. And thank all of you for your support of the Global Rotary Foundation. And I look forward to the next time I wear my necktie.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Jan and Nancy, for your support of Rotary and all of the work that Rotary is doing internationally. At this time, I invite Eric Chase, Chair of the Youth Enrichment Committee, to the podium. Yeah, I was like, or not? He's there in the back.
So as you know, the Youth Enrichment Committee has been planning for about 2 years in kind of launch of what we're trying to do to come across with that special projects that we're trying to do with youth. And we are going to hold a focus group on May 6th, as you see on your slide, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the Children's Aid Society New Warner Early Learning Child Care Center, which, by the way, is an award-winning building with Wagman Construction from the Business Journal, the Central Pennsylvania Business Journal. So we're very proud of that. So if you haven't seen our center, please come out and see our award-winning building. But what we're looking for is if you as Rotarians have any ideas for any youth-serving organization, we should invite to this focus group. We really want to kind of pick the brains of youth leaders and youth organizations within our community to find it out and figure out what is it truly our youth need. Rather than us as a bunch of Rotarians sitting in a room and saying, I wonder what the youth need, we thought, let's ask the youth leaders, let's ask the youth, what is it they need most? So if you know of a group, I would just ask that you would either email me or email Lynn if there's a group that you have. If we already have that group on our list, we'll add them. We won't add them to the list, but we'll just make sure they get an invite. But we are going to provide them with lunch because if you feed them, they will come. Right? If you feed people, they will come. And number two, we just want to try to get as many youth groups in our city that are doing this work so that we can invite them to this and to kind of drive that project in our club in the best way possible to have the greatest impact in our city. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me after the meeting or send me an email at echase@cassd.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. I'm excited to hear what comes out of those focus groups. And now we have Matthew Hoffman on behalf of the Youth Leadership Committee.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. We have not one, not two, but we have 3 students that we're recognizing and just outstanding students from Hack, Penn State York, and York College today. We'll first hear from Thomas. He's studying at Hack Business Management. He's a non-traditional student, just getting back into going to school. He works full time and he goes to school full time, so he has his hands full. He enjoys golfing, spending time with his wife, and walking his dogs. We'll next hear from Zulady, who attends Penn State York. She studies human development and family studies, and she works or volunteers at the Children's Advocacy Center already, and she's already putting her experience and her college degree to good use, and she gives back in many ways, and is involved in many things here that I won't necessarily list. She enjoys journaling, reflective writing, fitness, and discovering new music playlists. And then we'll hear from Megan Holtzinger, who attends York College, one who is very involved in the community, and she studies supply chain management, and she has many activities here listed, and quite honestly, too many to list. And she actually collaborates with many different organizations across the county, getting volunteers to collaborate and give back to the community. So without further ado, we'll first hear from Thomas.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here today to accept the scholarship from the York Rotary Club. I was born and raised right here in York City. This community is the only home I know. It shaped my character and taught me the true meaning of hard work, which is a lesson I put into practice every day. Currently, I work full-time at Church and Dwight as a manufacturing resource operator, while my wife serves our community as an oncology nurse at York Hospital. Balancing our careers and my studies as a first-year business student at HAC is a challenge, but one I'm very proud to take on. My goal is to use this degree to grow within Church and Dwight and continue to contribute to the local economy that sustains our city. I want to express my gratitude to the HAC administration for their guidance and for providing the resources that allow working professionals like myself to succeed. Most importantly, thank you to the York Rotary Club. Your generosity is more than just a financial gift. It's a vote of confidence from the community who raised me. I'm truly grateful for your investment in my future and for everything you do to make York a better place for our people. I promise to work hard and make all of you proud. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
How are you guys so tall? I'm just like Thank you everyone for having me today, and thank you, Scott, for coming along my journey. I'm super excited. I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. The most important experience that has shaped who I am today is my continued involvement in the community service throughout York. While I have had many opportunities to volunteer, one moment that really stands out to me is when I worked with individuals with disabilities during a lunch program. At first, I thought I would simply volunteer for my time, but I quickly realized that the experience was much more meaningful than I expected. During this experience, I sat and talked and shared a meal with individuals who often feel overlooked in the city or in society. What impacted me the most is how something as simple as a conversation and a presence created a sense of belonging and connection. I began to understand that service is not always about large actions or recognitions. It's about showing up for others in ways that make them feel valued and heard. This moment changed the way that I view service. It taught me the importance of patience, empathy, and genuine human connections. I learned that service above self means putting aside your own assumptions and truly focusing on the needs of others. It also showed me how small actions can have lasting impacts on someone's day and overall well-being. Growing up and living in York, I have seen both challenges and the strengths within the community. This has motivated me to stay involved and give back in multiple ways, whether it's tutoring at local centers, volunteering in food banks, or serving as a line ambassadors for Penn State York. Each of these experiences has helped me better understand the diverse needs of the people around me and has strengthened my commitment to serving others. So being recognized by the Rotary Club of York, it has been meaningful to me just because it reflects values and I actively try to live by. Service is not just something I do, it is something that has become part of who I am. It influences my academic path as a human development and family studies specialist and my future goal of working with children, adolescents, and families in helping professions. As I continue my journey, I am committed to carrying forward the principle of service above self, using my education experiences to support and uplift others in York and beyond. Thank you so much. I'm not quite tall and I'm not quite short, so find a happy medium here. Rotarians, guests, and those that have joined me from York College, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak to all of you and to represent the Rotary Club and the York community at large. Being a student volunteer for me is more than just giving my time. It's about becoming something bigger than yourself, honestly. For me, volunteering has been one of the most meaningful and transformative experiences of my life. It's not only shaped my values, but it's broadened my perspectives and inspired me to think of the kind of person that I want to become and the kind of impact that I want to have on the world. But over time, I realized that volunteering changes the person who serves just as much as it helps the person being served. And each experience reminded me that even small acts of kindness can create meaningful change. Volunteering has also taught me that real leadership begins with service. It's done not about recognition or titles. It's about stepping forward when something needs done and caring enough to make a difference. As students, we're often only focused on our grades, our futures, what lies ahead. But volunteering reminds us that true potential is not only measured by what we achieve for ourselves, but how we use those abilities to uplift others. When students come together with a shared purpose to help, to serve, and to care, we create something really powerful.
We build stronger communities, stronger connections, and a culture where people uplift each other. Volunteering has given me a deeper sense of purpose and responsibility. It has shown me that making a difference is not something reserved for the future, but rather something we can start doing right now. As students, we have energy, we have creativity, and we have compassion. And when we use those qualities to serve others, we help shape a better future. At York College of Pennsylvania, I've been encouraged by everyone around me to get involved in both the YCP community and the York County at large. I currently serve as a project coordinator for the Spartan Volunteer Network, a position that allows me to connect with local nonprofits and other community leadership to form meaningful connections and create opportunities for our student body to get involved. As an Eisenhardt Scholar, I've committed to 60 hours of community service at minimum every semester, and I've loved every minute that I've spent volunteering. Ultimately, being a student volunteer has allowed me and inspired me to live with intention. It reminds me that the world does not get better through grand gestures alone, but rather through people who are willing to show up, care deeply, and take action. And if each of us chooses to even do a small part, together we can create a change that reaches far beyond ourselves. I thank you all again so much.
Wow. You guys are very inspiring, and congratulations. And I hope that you'll stay in touch and keep us updated on your journeys. I'm excited I'm excited to see the change that you make in our community here in York. And now past President Mike Summers will introduce our speaker for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. For anyone who is wondering who's on the program committee, you all are. And we're going to be meeting in May to discuss the next 6 months. So I would encourage all of you to think hard about who you'd like to suggest, who you'd like to see. And I would remind all of us that we are a business organization. So we have not-for-profits and we have for-profits in our organization, but we are a business organization. So think about that. But please get those in email to me, if you would, before May. Our speaker today is Tom Davidson, who serves as the state director with the National Lincoln Highway Association. The Lincoln Highway is the first coast-to-coast road for automobiles from New York City to San Francisco, established in 1913. And for any of us who call York home for more than a few years, the Lincoln Highway is part of our direct history as well. The Lincoln Highway was the first national memorial to President Abraham Lincoln in the United States, predating the 1922 dedication of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. by 9 years. As the first automobile road across the United States, the Lincoln Highway brought great prosperity to the hundreds of cities, towns, and villages along the way. The Lincoln Highway became affectionately known as the Main Street across America. York will host the Lincoln Highway Association National Conference called Road to Independence from June 22nd to the 27th in 2026. People from 20 states and Canada are coming to Pennsylvania to celebrate the 250th anniversary of transportation. Tom is a Pennsylvania native and currently lives in New Freedom with his family. He has served as a public servant at Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland, the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, as district director for former Congressman Bill Goodling, and for over 20 years with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, a Department of Homeland Security component. Tom recently retired after 35 years of federal service. As a state director with the National Lincoln Highway Association, Tom advocates for the promotion of preservation of one of the nation's most historic highways. He looks forward to sharing about the nation's 250th and how historic roads continue to contribute to the development of communities across Pennsylvania. Fellow Rotarians and guests, please warmly welcome Tom Davidson.
As America celebrates 250 years of freedom, We invite you to the Lincoln Highway Association Annual Conference in York, Pennsylvania, to honor our nation's history along the road that united it. The conference will take place at the beautifully restored Yorktown Hotel, located on Market Street, the historic Lincoln Highway in the heart of York. Market Street has been named one of the most beautiful main streets in America by Reader's Digest. And just steps away, you'll find the York History Center, one of USA Today's best new museums. And visit the Colonial Complex to learn about the Revolutionary War in York and experience 18th century culture. And visit the famous Shoe House. During the week of the conference, we'll journey together on bus tours from York to historic Gettysburg and Chambersburg, and visit the Columbia-Wrightsville Veterans Memorial Bridge, and you will visit Columbia and Lancaster. On your way to the conference, the Lincoln Highway offers many roadside attractions like the Lincoln Highway Experience, Lincoln Motor Court, and the iconic Coffee Pot. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary on the road to independence, the Lincoln Highway. Book your stay at the historic Yorktown Hotel. Mail in your registration today. The Lincoln Highway Association National Conference. Visit the website for more details.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you about our 250th anniversary as a nation. And I enjoy wearing this hat to remind people that it's time to celebrate. I also enjoy wearing this hat after seeing my back of my head in that video. So walking across the Yorktown lobby, beautiful place. First question. Some of you weren't here yet, but where were you during our bicentennial? Do you remember what you were doing to celebrate? This is a photograph of a cross-country wagon road. This is in downtown Chambersburg on the Lincoln Highway. And they went coast to coast. They came across Chambersburg, then Gettysburg, then York, and on to Valley Forge. Anyone remember seeing the bicentennial wagon train? There you go. Great. I don't think we're going to have any wagon trains this year, but what are we going to do? As was mentioned, we have this conference coming up the week of June 22nd through 26th. And I have materials on the table as you're walking out if you'd like to receive some free information. But it is a privilege for us to host this national conference. Last year it was in Nebraska. It's in a different state every year, somewhere between New York City and California. So it's our turn. And I simply ask everyone, please be kind to our guests. I know you will. And join everyone somehow in the celebration of the signing of our Declaration of Independence. I do want to publicly acknowledge those that have supported this conference. It wouldn't be possible without the support of organizations such as Explore York, Potter Mill Foundation, J. Wareheim Foundation, and many other organizations that are providing in-kind support of this event. So we're going to host people coming here from at least 20 states. I'm still working on getting people here from Nebraska and Utah. So if you know anyone from there, invite them to come. And as was mentioned, the Lincoln Highway was the first cross-to-cross country road for automobiles established in 1913. And the important thing I just want to say is this was not done by any government organization. This was the efforts of private individuals. They were road enthusiasts and they wanted a way to get coast to coast. Two of the key people in this, one is Carl Fisher, which you may not be familiar with, but he also established the Indianapolis Speedway, Indianapolis 500. He also developed Miami Beach, and the Lincoln Highway and Jefferson Highway were two of his accomplishments. Also, Henry Joy was the president of the Packard Motor Company. It was his idea to name the road in honor of President Abraham Lincoln. And these people, these business leaders, today they would be people trying to get us to the moon, get us further into outer space. And today we look at driving on roads as such a mundane thing. But back then, it was an adventure. Every American motorist has within him or her something of the feeling that prompted our pioneer forefathers to explore the new and unknown. How many people drove here today? How many people walked here today? Anybody? Anybody ride a bike? Anyone on an airplane today? So like it or not, here in the 21st century, we're still traveling roads. Do you ever wonder who traveled that way before you? If your ancestors came from the West or from the South, most likely they traveled upon the road that became the Lincoln Highway. And now you're back here. Well, I'll talk a little more about that later. This first slide is from a Millersville University study, and you may not be able to see it closely, but this shows where Native people, where they lived across what became the Commonwealth, the blue dots there. What do you notice is common about all of them? Anything? They're all near water. The other thing that may not be quite as apparent is because of the natural landscape, most of their travel routes were more north to south, more than east to west, as they traveled in those times. That changed with the establishment of our Commonwealth. You see in the lower right, 1682, William Penn and the Quakers, and then the Germans and others. As these land grants were given and as these political boundaries were made, there was more emphasis on moving people and goods east to west than north to south. So what I want to say here is our roads are there because people were given land in this direction across our Commonwealth. Another way to think about it, some of you may be familiar with Rob Evans. He's an artist who does wonderful art set along the Susquehanna River. And this is a picture of his called Migration. And it shows the Columbia-Wrightsville Bridge, east to west, and it shows the migration of these birds north to south. So in nature, we're traveling in one direction based on the mountains, based on the rivers, based on what we find, whereas our roads are man-made. On the right is a picture of the construction workers on the roof of the Yorktown, built in 1925, where our conference will be held. And again, this was built just like the taverns in the century before. It is a man-made place where people traveling can find lodging, can find food, and we gather there also, but it was primarily built for travelers. Revolutionary War times, Ken Burns, you just saw his documentary. The two major roads were the government road, the King's Highway, connected Baltimore, New York, Philadelphia, and places south. The colonies were very much a port-focused transportation model. They were bringing people here to settle, but they were also taking goods back to England to be manufactured into other goods. And this is a government road, primarily today, US 1, that connects all the all the colonies. On the right is a road that became known as the Great Wagon Road. One of our speakers, the author James Dotson, is going to talk about his book called The Road That Made America, The Great Wagon Road. And as you notice, as people came further west, they initially went south from York. You might have, again, ancestors that traveled down that way during colonial days. And any idea why the road didn't go further west at that time at first? The mountains is a big reason. And also at the time, England did not have the ability to control further west. They wanted the colonists to stay closer to the ports. I'm going to jump ahead to the 19th century. The war's over. We've won the war. What's the problem? There's no government to build or maintain the King's Highway. The federal government's broke because of the war, but we needed our roads to shift from from bringing people in from the ports to connecting the communities. And the way that they did that, the states did that, is they authorized what were known as turnpikes. And basically, they were utilities. Private citizens could buy stock in each of the turnpikes. And then these roads were all privately owned, and every so many miles you paid a toll. Apologize, one of my, something's not showing there, but basically what I want to say about the turnpikes, they were necessary because the government could not build roads, the government could not maintain roads. So for long distance travel, we depended on this network of turnpikes. And that's why the Lincoln Highway came across South Central Pennsylvania, because those were the best roads of the time. This is a picture from the early 20th century. I like it because it shows how early automobile enthusiasts basically just took their vehicles out on the road and raced each other, saw how far they could get. You might notice here they're traveling across what is known as the Pennsylvania Railroad Bridge. That was the only bridge across the Susquehanna River. The railroad charged them a significant toll to travel, and it took local community leaders about a decade to convince government officials that they needed the bridge that we have today there, the Columbia-Wrightsville Bridge. So the government finally said, this is a great idea. We're going to start taking over the roads, building roads. You may have heard of the Sproul Act, but basically this is when the state government said, we're going to build better roads. And the challenge was the state didn't own any of the roads. They had just established all these private turnpikes all across the state. So in each county, Lancaster County, York County, Gettysburg, Chambersburg further west, you have your county seat, and all the roads would come to the hub, bring their goods to market. But there really still wasn't any good way to go a long distance. Question I'm always asked is, how did people travel back then? There weren't any GPS. Honestly, I was a little late because I punched in the wrong place to come here. And since my cataract surgery, I can't see as well as I'd like to. And all of a sudden, it led me astray. They didn't have maps. Basically, you just had through the windshield navigation. And if you saw the symbol on the left, that was the initial Lincoln Highway emblem, you knew you were on the right road. You might have a guidebook that says, go to Philadelphia and make a right-hand turn. That's helpful. But as this road became more prominent, they then had porcelain signs on posts. And then finally, they had 1928 concrete markers with the Lincoln Medallion when the Lincoln Highway Association finished their job. By that time, the U.S. numbered highway system had been established. The federal government was getting involved. And that's why we're celebrating the centennial of Route 66 this year, because what I'll call these younger roads are being celebrated. The last sign on the right you might see as you head through South Central Pennsylvania, there is a heritage tourism group known as the Lincoln Highway Corridor, and they promote the Lincoln Highway across South Central Pennsylvania. I hope you all know that hosting conferences in town is good for business. Our budget, even before anyone shows up here to spend any money in our local restaurants or anything else they're going to do, it is $150,000. So, people that travel, our tourists, are not only enjoying our towns, but they're also investing in our communities. Thankful for that. One guy I want to mention here, you may recognize this mural from side of the building used to be Sam and Tony's. The guy in the middle is Eugene Weiser. You may have never heard of him, but he was the first York Chamber secretary and also the first volunteer local consul of the Lincoln Highway Association. 1913, the highway was established. A year later, President Woodrow Wilson said, "This is a great idea. Why don't you reroute the Lincoln Highway to Washington, D.C. between Philadelphia and Gettysburg?" Well, that's great for everybody except all the towns between Philadelphia and Gettysburg that aren't on the way to Washington, D.C. Mr. Weiser, along with others, went out and rallied the communities to say, we want to be on the Lincoln Highway. One of my favorite stories is that first sign you saw of the Lincoln Highway emblem on the utility poles was they went out and they painted all those emblems on all the utility poles, throughout South Central Pennsylvania. They were staking claim that they were proud to be on the Lincoln Highway. People ask me, can I travel Lincoln Highway today? Yes, you can, all the way from New York City to San Francisco. We have an online map. You can set yourself up on there and head east, head west. You'll get there. It just might take a little longer than on the interstate. I did want to mention, many people talk about the Lincoln Highway Garage, and basically service stations were the taverns of the 20th century. The taverns during the wagon road period were where travelers, their animals would rest. The service stations, they weren't just the convenience stores of today. They were the community gathering places, and people got together there and, whether it was food, whether it was entertainment, whether they needed to fill their tanks, they could do that at the local service station. Recently, I had obtained the historic marker for the Haynes Shoe House. And on the left, we have been working this past year to preserve, restore the neon signs from both the Modern Air Motel and Lee's Diner. And those both are being installed. They'll soon be for public exhibition at the Agricultural and Industrial Museum at York. Traveling along Lincoln Highway. They actually had grade and surface guides to tell how good the road was. up and down over the mountains. It was a challenge for early automobiles. Some people still tell me, I won't go on 30 west of Chambersburg because it's a scary road. Why do you think they had a lot of places to stop at the top of the mountains? Right, cars overheated. You had to rest your vehicle, so there was always a souvenir stand or something else at the top of the mountains. Why do you think you had to have places to stop at the bottom of the mountains? Brakes overheating. Right. So it was a slow go. And probably one of my favorite stories. This is some of you may remember Grandview Point Ship Hotel out by Bedford, but this is the picture on the right is 1924 when the 10 millionth Model T stopped at Grandview Point. On the left, on the golden anniversary of the tour, a gentleman had recreated the trip that Henry Ford had sent his Model T on. And then 2 years ago, the children of the man who built this car took the same vehicle all the way across the country on the 100th anniversary. The car's now in a museum in Nebraska. Anita King. She was the first woman to drive coast to coast by herself in 1915. And she didn't want to bet. She said to the head of Paramount, if I can drive across the country by myself, will you give me a starring role in your next film? She did it, and he did. The movie's called The Race. So how are you going to celebrate our 250th this year? Maybe you'll go on a road trip. Hopefully you'll stay out of trouble. But hopefully you'll do more than just sit at home and watch the fireworks go off. One place, some things I just want to mention real quick is the Lincoln Highway Experience in Latrobe. They're hosting an event called the Great American Road Trip Celebration the Saturday before our conference on June 20th. We're going to host right after our conference with Main Street Hanover a fun event called the Great Wagon Road Poker Run. And also the gentleman who produced our video for our conference has produced a documentary called After Ike. It's in 1919 when Eisenhower was part of an Army convoy that went from Washington, D.C. to the West Coast along the Lincoln Highway. This will be shown, premiered locally at the York County History Center Museum by WITF. And then they will show it probably around the 4th of July on their local PBS station. So watch for that if you're interested in military history. So I appreciate the time to be here. Happy to answer questions or talk to you after the meeting. Thank you. One question. All right. In the back, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you got the mic back in the back? Go ahead.
Tom, that was wonderful. I loved it. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if you're going to know this answer, but when the U.S. highway system was first created, I'm not talking, this is after the Lincoln Highway.
Yeah.
The numbering system, as you know, going east and west are even numbers, starting with low numbers at the north and high numbers at the south, and north and south routes are, of course, odd numbers going low numbers at the east and high numbers to the west. The interstate highway system that was developed with Eisenhower in 1950 reversed that trend. And I question to this day, was that a smart move? Because it would be easier if the interstate highway system followed the U.S. highway system in terms of you knowing exactly where you are in the country.
Well, I think I would say I'd prefer we stuck with the name trail systems. So let's have the Lincoln Highway, the Jefferson Highway, and all those. Probably the best answer I can give you is, it was mentioned in, I just retired from the government. I was with the government for 35 years. So there might not be as much logic to it as you expect. Each renaming of roads, each renumbering of roads, it's an opportunity for people to put their mark on what the new system should be. So whenever you create something new, you don't necessarily look back and worry about, what the exit numbers were 10 years ago or, what the number routes are. It's just, you just want people to remember the Sproul Act, whatever it may be. So I think that would be my best. I'm sure there's, explanation beyond that, but in general, everybody has a better idea how to name everything. So.
Thank you so much, Tom, for sharing your insights on the Lincoln Highway and its rich history. It's exciting that York will host the Road to Independence Conference this June. So we appreciate the Lincoln Highway Association's work in preserving this legacy and serving as Pennsylvania's ambassadors. And personally, it was really cool to see my hometown of Bedford County in that opening video there, the teapot in the Lincoln Way Motel. As you know, our speaker signs a book plate that'll be put in a book to be donated to the York Day Early Learning Center, along with a bookmark made by students at Creative York. We're back to Octopus and the Octopus Escapes. Next week, we will hear from the prestigious Dr. Silas Chamberlain, Chief Strategy Officer at the York County Economic Alliance, where he oversees development and implementation of the county's economic strategy and broad portfolio of economic development, government relations, and capital projects. Silas will provide an update on planning for the future use of the Penn State York campus when it closes to students in the spring of 2027. In December of 25, YCEA, on behalf of Penn State York donors, funders, and key stakeholders, launched a process to determine a meaningful plan for the future. This expedited process is slated to wrap up in April ahead of Penn State's internal decision-making process for the future of the campus. So we'll hopefully see you guys next week. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.